The good news for the Niners, I think, though, is that Jalen Hurts is about to get a $50 million a year contract.
Yeah.
The Eagles are the only good team outside of the Niners in the NFC, in my opinion. And they've got 12 key free agents. 10 of them are starters. They're going to wind up losing a lot of those guys if they're going to pay Jalen Hurts $50 million. So, to me, the only competition you have in the entire conference is now going to take a backslide with their roster, while you have the cheapest quarterback room potentially if you go rookie with the third QB in the entire league. And I think that could be, I think the 49ers could, with the right off season, could be on the verge of a 5-year run where they wind up in the Super Bowl or at least in the NFC Championship game every single year. I don't see any team. I mean, outside of Philly, give me one team in the NFC that you fear in the future.
There isn't one.
Who would you even say is the third best team in the NFC?
I
Dallas?
guess Dallas.
I mean, Dallas has got McCarthy, Jerry Jones, and his kid running the show.
Yeah.
I mean, Dak throws a ton of picks.
You're never scared of the Vikings.
People say about Detroit. I mean, come on, they got Jared Goff, and they're still a ways away. Seattle, I mean, who's their quarterback long term? What's their future? The Rams have cap problems. I don't see that team in the NFC outside of the Niners and Philly. It's going to be a Niner-Philly battle royale, I think, just going forward for the next 5 years. And with Hurts getting no longer on the rookie deal and the Niners having all these young, cheap quarterbacks, I think the Niners could have a much deeper roster than the Eagles, probably most of the next 2 or 3 years.
And when you start paying somebody like that, you would hope. And again, Jalen Hurts, he's gotten better every single year. It's a bit of a short. It's not short. I'm sure it wasn't short for Jalen Hurts, but it's a short sample when he does something like this in that last year. Now you have no choice to pay him. Do we really know for sure that Jalen Hurts is a top, whatever he's going to be paid quarterback moving forward? I think he's really good, and I am rooting for Jalen Hurts. But when you start to pay him like this, now we're also the reason Patrick Mahomes is getting paid the bag that he's getting, it's because he can make up for what we cannot pay in other positions. He can win a Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster TikToking everywhere and guys that you haven't heard of, and you lose Tyreek because you had to pay Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if Jalen Hurts can do that. I don't know, but he's going to be paid on a level similar to that, to where you're going to lose certain guys. It might not be your skill players, but you're going to lose certain guys. Now, they made sure, Kansas City did, we will not lose Travis Kelce. Full stop. That's the one that cannot move. This is just the first year we've seen from Jalen Hurts play like this, and we have no clue if that's who he's going to be. But we also have no clue what Brock Purdy is going to be. We have an idea, we think, but still small, and we don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. So the NFC is just a complete toss-up in general right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, too. There'll be people that will question Brock Purdy and the upside potential. The people that are like, hey, anti-Purdy and pro-Trey Lance are like, they're of the belief, I should say, that Brock has a ceiling, that there's limits to Brock, and that they don't want to go too far down the Brock road and then find out 3 years from now that he ain't good enough to beat Mahomes, and you have no Super Bowl, and maybe you missed out on Trey Lance. Maybe he moved somewhere else. You traded him somewhere else. Maybe that's the one thing. It's like I could see them coexisting this year. I don't know if I can see them coexisting for 2 years. I think somebody is going to go here at some point, probably next offseason. But I think it's interesting, too, that Jalen Hurts, nobody's saying anything about Jalen Hurts being too small, and yet Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are literally the exact same size.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts can squat a house, though.
Right. He's got strong but Brock's got strong legs.
Yeah.
And they call him Mini Bosa.
Sure. I don't know. Just it looks like
they're the same body type. I mean, as far as Hurts is a probably a quicker athlete, but Brock, maybe a faster athlete, I should say, but Brock may be quicker. With that Brock's, really fat, what was he, 155, 10-yard split? He's pretty quick.
Well, and Brock's elusiveness in the pocket is, to be honest, already second to none. Already, I can say that. He's gotten out of a lot of jams very quickly, and looking at Jalen Hurts from throwing in the pocket and out of pocket, his splits were polar opposite. He was extremely good in the pocket. Throwing on the run is not his thing. Brock can do a little bit of everything.
Brock throws well in the run.
He does. So I do think that there are some similarities there. I just don't know. You have this timeline that you have to meet when you're the Eagles, and the Niners will have to come up against the same thing. And I think that's what you're saying. Basically, this is the year to figure out who they want to move forward with. This is not a thing that can just survive. People don't do this. People don't have two young quarterbacks and just flip-flop them back because, number one, you can get assets for one of them if one of them does prove to still have value. And number two, that's just not how you run a business because they're all going to want to get paid. They're all going to want to get paid. 888-957-9570 is the call line and the Xfinity Mobile text line. Let's head out to San Jose with Justin, who wants to talk Trey Lance. What's up, Justin? You're on the roast.
Hey, nothing much. How you guys doing?
Good, man. What's up?
Hey, here's what I think Brock Purdy did peak too early. Only reason why I say that is because all of our quarterbacks was injured, and Shannon had no choice but to open up that playbook for that young man. Now, when he had Trey Lance, he was trying to do too much. Even though he said I got a dual threat quarterback, and he's not utilizing him right. He should just let Trey Lance play football. Is the reason why Trey Lance is not succeeding in that starting role. If you would let Trey Lance play football, we'd be talking about something totally different. Instead of running him up the middle and getting injured like that. I mean, that's not football.
I think you're right. But it's interesting. Shanahan clearly doesn't think of these guys the same because he doesn't call them the same.
No.
He calls Trey a dual threat quarterback.
Yep.
And Brock is just a quarterback. So I agree with the caller. I'd like to see Trey Lance operate in the same system that Brock has been in, that Jimmy's been in. I mean, obviously you're going to do some things to cater to Trey's abilities, but I would not look at Trey as this guy's got to be a runner. How about, when Trey runs, he takes hits. When he scrambles, he doesn't. I'd rather see him scramble than run. No more designed power runs. I want to see him just drop back, and if the play's not there, scramble. We saw it in the second half of the Texans game. The offensive line was horrible that day. There was all kinds of free rushers coming at Trey, and he was brilliant. He was stepping up in the pocket. He was making throws. He was buying extra time. The Debo throw down the field was a secondary platform throw where he was in the pocket. He got out of the pocket. He escaped contain, set his feet, kept his eyes peeled downfield, and delivered a bullet. So, I want to see more of that with Trey Lance. I also think it's interesting that people pick at Purdy because they'll say, well, he doesn't naturally step up in the pocket, and he escapes out the back door, which isn't ideal. We're talking about a quarterback, a rookie quarterback, who won 2 playoff games, who's really never lost.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're critiquing him a little too harshly. I think people need to realize that it's not just the best that he's going to be. He's going to get better. I mean, all these are young players that will be ascending.
They are the same age, and whatever you think one ceiling is versus the other, they both can improve. This idea that Brock Purdy is going to be the same guy, I don't know, and it might not be from a technical standpoint per se. Like Trey Lance has to get more accurate, but he has a cannon. Brock Purdy doesn't have a cannon, but he's pretty darn accurate already. So when you look at what can project and the physical attributes, that's where we think of, quote unquote, improving, and that is the ceiling. But Brock Purdy can understand defense is better. He can do a lot of different things that he did not have in his bag of tricks this season. So I think that's something to keep in mind when we think about improving. It's always the physical aspect and not necessarily the other aspects of the game as well. 888-957-9570. Let's get back out to the call line. Austin in San Jose, who wants to let us know the Niners are not the only threat to the Eagles. What's up, Austin? What you got for us on the road?
Who is
What's up, fellas?
What's up?
My guy Larry, man. I love you, Larry, but come on, man. This is hyperbole. I mean,
go ahead.
There's no way you can get on the air and say that the 49ers are going to have a 5-year run and that the only other teams are the Philly and them. I mean, come on. How about Dallas? I think the Commanders are going to make a run. They got a new OC who should be ahead.
Wait, the Commanders? The Commanders?
Yeah.
Ron Rivera is. I was just listening to Fox Sports Radio coming in. Ron Rivera is probably out at the end of the year if they don't advance. Plus, they have no quarterback. Taylor Heineke is their quarterback. He's a free agent. He's not even signed. I mean, I think if you're going to point to a team that's going to run with the Niners and the Eagles and the NFC, that team's got to be pretty set. Not a head coach on the hot seat with a new OC and no quarterback. I agree with you. The Commanders have some talent. They got the nice makings on the defensive front. But, I mean, come on. They're not in the same category with the Niners and Eagles. I mean, if they wind up getting a quarterback of note this offseason, I'll totally change that thought. But until then, right, how do we take the Commanders seriously with no QB?
Well, they're a couple players away, man, like a few other teams. I mean, we can't say they're contenders, but they certainly they got a new OC, man. They brought in a guy that should be a head coach now. They got Bieniemy.
But I don't agree with the Cowboys either. You really like the Cowboys with Jerry and his son and Prescott throwing picks, and I mean I'll say this: if Dallas has another big off season where they hit in the draft, like they hit with Micah Parsons, they hit with Diggs, they have another big off season, and McCarthy somehow is an upgrade off of their play caller last year from Boise State. Then maybe, but I mean, you still got Dak, who turns the ball over left and right. They don't have a lockdown defense. They got an aging offensive line. From what I've heard about Dallas, they're going to kiss off both Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott this offseason. That means they got no big time back. So I mean, let's pump the brakes on Dallas.
But I would say this though, Larry. The Niners can't. At some point, someone else is going to emerge. And I guess we saw it happen with the Eagles, which came out of nowhere a little bit. So even if the argument is right now it's just the Niners and Eagles, last year we wouldn't have even included the Eagles. So my point is, you don't know who else is going to pop up.
It's a fast-changing landscape.
And at some point, the Niners are going to have to get this done while they are in this opportune situation. Because somebody's always coming. It could be the Giants. I don't know. No, it could be anybody.
The Giants might be to me, if you say who are the possibilities, it would be the Giants because Daniel Jones has played well. Brian Daboll's a terrific coach. Their talent level wasn't great. They're going to get better. I would say the G-Men would be one. Detroit, I think Campbell's got something going there. So I would say Detroit. Heck, Chicago, I really like what I saw from Fields.
Yeah,
potentially.
you never know.
I mean, a lot of negative plays, but I mean, he's also mercurial in his own right. I don't see the entire NFC South is going to have new quarterbacks. I mean, if you gave
the Saints with Derek Carr,
I would say it'd be more like Falcons with Lamar. If somehow the Falcons got Lamar, now maybe I'm interested there. If the Seahawks somehow had John Schneider had a phenomenal off-season haul last year. If they do that again, maybe Seattle. But there's no Arizona, no. Rams have cap problems. Saints, Panthers, Buccaneers. I mean,
Packers, we don't know what happens with Aaron Rodgers.
If they move on from Rodgers, now it's the Jordan Love era, probably not.
Basically, what this comes down to is right now,
Niners are looking shit. Niners are sitting nice.
They are right now. We also have to see, you said NFC South is going to have a bunch new quarterbacks. But
they all could be new quarterbacks.
But I also think that what you said about Lamar Jackson, right now, this NFL, it comes down to QBs. Right. And we know it's stacked with an understatement for the AFC. The NFC, not so much. As of right now, who is the best quarterback in the NFC? Jalen Hurts?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. As of right now, he's in the NFC as of 750.
Hurts, I guess you could say, because he was an MVP.
And
candidate.
I don't even know what that means, because we've seen, one really good season from Hurts, and we know what's going on with the Niners. So if one domino comes, that's why
Stafford, I guess maybe.
That's why if any of these NFC teams do get a Lamar Jackson, I don't want to get into about Derek Carr. I see Joe Spadoni trying to hop in already.
He's probably going to the Jets. The Jets' first choice is Rodgers. Their fallback is Carr.
I don't like Derek Carr with the Jets at all.
I don't believe in Carr as a competitor. I mean, how many times you got to watch him fire the ball and key downs into the turf and just, and sit before you sit there and go, you know what?
Maybe show up a receiver after that.
Maybe he's not the guy anymore. I mean, if you can't get it done with Jacobs and Waller and Devontae, where are you running to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're running. That's why everybody's been saying he's been going to continue to run to warm weather. That's why I don't know. And people go back and forth. He can't play in the cold. Look, nobody wants to play in the cold. I played baseball in Philadelphia. I couldn't stand it. My splits from February to March and after March were ridiculous. I couldn't feel my hands. The hand warmers don't work. So I feel you, Derek Carr, if you don't like playing in the cold, because neither do I. But if you end up in the cold, that's just a non-starter for me. I don't know. And I know you got Saleh, you got some guys. Obviously, the Jets have offensive rookie and defensive rookie of the year, so the Jets have some pieces. that's a non-starter. But getting back to the NFC, it is a complete, all-you-can-eat, wide open situation. But it can close up quick. The Eagles came out of nowhere. So basically in the NFC, we have the teams that we know are always around. The Niners, I would say the Cowboys, and I would say the Packers for as long as they have Aaron Rodgers, and the Vikings. Those teams have been around for years, it feels like.
Vikings had the worst defense in football this year. They just fired Minuski.
What if they shore up the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, and also there's also some impact guys in the draft. There's Bryce Young, right? There's C.J. Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
There's Will Levis out of Kentucky.
Right.
Those guys could wind up on NFC teams. If one of those, who knows? There are people. Daniel Jeremiah says that Bryce Young is the next is Aaron Rodgers, but smaller.
Yeah.
So if you really believe that the Alabama quarterback,
I also heard he was Patrick Mahomes, but smaller.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like him. Will Levis, I know a lot of people like him. If he goes to the right team, maybe. But there's nobody who's got the Niners and with Lynch and Howie Roseman in Philly had built these super rosters. Mm-hmm. It didn't surprise me there was Niners, Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Those were far and away the best rosters in the NFC. I just think I don't see the quarterbacks in the NFC, and I don't see the rosters in the NFC that are going to run with those two teams. And I don't see the Eagles staying on that level anymore because they got 12 free agents, 10 of them are starters, and they're going to pay their quarterback $50 million. So yeah. I think the 49ers are sitting in a really, really good spot. They got to make the right decision at quarterback. They got to find a replacement for Kinlaw. They probably got to find a right tackle if they let McGlinchey walk. They got to find out, is Jimmy Ward coming back? If not, you got to upgrade your secondary a little bit. But I mean, the Niners have like 3 or 4 questions. Most of the other teams in the NFC have like 10.
Right. And a lot of ifs, as they say, but if those ifs become whens, and if those ifs come true, it can change a lot, and it can change the course of your season. The Niners aren't running out of time, but at some point with this roster, and everyone keeps saying it's Super Bowl ready, you got to get one.
You got to get one. But what is their window? I always tie the window to the QB. And with Lance and Purdy and Shanahan and Lynch both being relatively young in their fields, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Niner weapons, if you say, okay, maybe the window's tied to what? Trent and Kittle and McCaffrey, so maybe you got a good, let's say, 2 to 3 year window.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.